Hello YouTube. Been getting a lot of questions about the seats you've seen on my bikes, and wanted to show you the tools I use to make those seats. Now, here's an example of one of the seats I made. This is a Silverwing GL650, and when you have plastic seats like this, can't always get the right look out of them. Sometimes they get close, but not always. And then mounting them isn't always easy either. So, in some cases it works out really well, like on this motorcycle right here. This happened to match the proportions of the tank and everything quite well. So if you were building a cafe racer or bobber seat, and you don't want to use fiberglass, you don't want to use plastic, and you want to get it done for pretty much $60 or $100 in materials, then here are the tools you'll need. A bolt cutter maybe. Vise. A welding unit like this one. Model on this. This is a weld pack 125 HD. I don't know what the HD stands for.
Heavy duty.
Now to shape your bar steel, this is 1/4 inch bar steel. You can use the vise in your hands, and gloves are recommended for this, or you can use a bar steel roller like this. And it's pretty simple. All you do is put the bar steel in the groove and then roll it, and it will put a predetermined bend. Now see here how the bar steel decided to come off to one side or the other. This is because I'm using an economy bar steel roller, and there are ways to get around this. Maybe buy a better bar steel roller, or get your handy vice grips out. Vice grip, that's what they're called, right? Vice grip pliers. And you grab on to it. And then as you roll, you kind of just hold it in that position, and it'll prevent it from losing alignment. And then you can almost make a symmetrical, I don't know, is that coming out right? Sort of. So you can see here where I started, it kind of got tweaked up, but that's just from using an inferior bar steel roller. Another way to do it is to prop it up against a stabilized round object, and what you would do is just place it on top and just squeeze down. Now what's wrong with this is sometimes you won't have a uniform curvature. You might have a high point somewhere in the top, but then again, you can always correct that with the vise. Other tools you'll need are cutoff wheel, grinder, what is this? A grinder wheel on a platform also helps. Of course, you want your eye and ear and nasal passage protection, because you will be dealing with all kinds of poisonous, smelly things when you're working with the cutoff wheel and grinder. So there is already a video on how to make I call it an endoskeleton, which is pretty much the shape that you'll be giving your seat. And this video is made by Kott motorcycles, and it can be found on Vimeo. Is it Vimeo? I think it's Vimeo. It's like a YouTube type channel or YouTube type website. I'll put a link to that in the description. So what you're going to start with is welding some bar steel to the frame. You want to be careful when doing this because you can fry your CDI and other electronics on certain bikes. So it's wise to completely remove the battery and move it as far away from your welding location as possible. And make sure there are no gases or flammable fumes in the area. And what you'll be doing is welding some bar steel to the frame where the seat will be. So this particular bar was the first bar that I started with, and it was welded directly to the frame. That gives it a very good fit once it's finished. And it will follow the contour of the frame exactly. And also for working with gas tanks or around gas tanks, you want to either completely remove the gas tank or shield the gas tank so that you don't risk spontaneous combustion. Now, with this particular bend right here, it's not always easy to do without the bar steel off of the bike, so you can sometimes weld at a point somewhere around here and here to the frame, and then use some pliers to move out this part over here to match the lines of the tank. That way it should flow nicely from the tank to the frame. And once you have all of this established, you can start building your hump or whatever else, whatever style you're going to be making. This seat in particular was for a CX500, and it's a rather large hump, but that's because it was designed to accommodate a battery. So what the Kott motorcycle videos do not have is a example of how to finish this endoskeleton, and it's finished using sheet metal. So this is actually the most complicated part of the process, and the easiest way to do it, I found, is to use some vice grips to attach at several points the sheet metal to your endoskeleton. I'll try to give you an example of that. So here you see I have it clamped down, and sometimes it's enough to just have the seat upside down and use its own weight to bring the sheet metal onto the bar steel for you to weld it on to later. Did I say that right?
I understood.
Okay. So you may be wondering why I have all this painter's tape on the seat. That's because I used it to make a mold for fiberglass seats. So that's why that's there.
Oh, my toes, they're sliced off.
You always want to be sure that you're wearing approved safety equipment. In this case, I have steel toe flip-flops again. This is Slow Silver brand. Now, you can't always get away with these types of vice grips. You may need to have some clearance vice grips or C-clamps, and these allow you to get into areas where you usually couldn't with a typical vice grip. Is that it? For upholstering, find a quality upholsterer, and you always have a variety of materials to choose from. If you go to the right upholsterer, we go to JP, right? JP Motorcycles. Let's give them a shout out. Where's the sticker? There's the sticker. That's JP Motorcycles. Did it focus?
I don't know.
Alright. There's his info right there. And once you have finished designing your seat, next you'll have to figure out a way to mount your seat. So there are several ways to do this. I believe in the KZ550 bobber video it was mounted with a hinge, and then you can also mount it. Here's an example where it is mounted externally to the frame by use of these tabs, and you would just put a bolt right through here and drill a hole into the frame and then tap it, and then that would secure the seat. I decided that I wanted to have something that didn't stick out too much and was less noticeable. So what I use is some bolts that stick out from underneath the seat, and in this case here I have welded a plate of steel to accommodate those bolts. So you would pretty much be able to bolt it up with some nuts at the bottom where they can't be seen, and it holds the seat in place very well. Think of anything else I'm missing?
No. Happy seat making.
If I miss anything, you'll see it in step 2. See you later.